long involved story about why they call me that. I was raised by a sack of potatoes, and in the wild actually. It was a harrowing experience, but that's where all my poetry comes from. So anyway, this is San Marcos Poetry Night. The rules are as follows. There are 3 rounds. Everybody gets a chance. They put their name here on this list. We go down the list. We take a 5 to 10 minute break. We come back for round 2. We do it all over again for round 3. We're usually here until about 10 to 11, depends on how many people want to read. It's a good time. You're going to enjoy it, trust me. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring up the one and only Thom, the world poet. Everybody give it up for Thom! Yay! Thanks a lot.
Every time I try and talk poetry, they talk about the past, so the past don't count no more. I went looking for the body of poetry. They told me archaeologically, etymologically speaking, it's a historical phenomenon. All the dead poets are all the best poets. I don't believe that. To quote the famous poet Patti Smith, I don't fuck much with the past, but I fuck playing with the future. So the bottom line was, I got caught in the courts. It's October 2014. And although you call upon the ghosts of Yeats, Frost, and Sandberg, they ain't gonna cure you no more. So I lean towards a textbook festival on the 25th and 26th, and trust that you will come to the tents with the gypsy experience. We'll be dealing with the poetry of the future to tell you about the thing that's in your hand, the Halloween benefit for AIPF once. Never gonna happen again. Now, for 21 years, this festival has been an open mic for the whole white scene. And the dreams that you're a member of the AIPF board are, of course, for everyone that wants to sign on. There's information there as how to be part of the Halloween. But that's just the beginning. If you really like a bit of fun, you come to Recycle Reads next Sunday afternoon. There, at Recycle Reads, everyone who wants to be the ghost of Edgar Allan Poe can bring Edgar Allan poems and play. The night before, if you feel like being completely contradictory to the negative scene, you can come to the seats. The positive experience of expressions. Everything is in a little packet in your hands. Here you are, man. A program for the surface of life. Now I say this because I know almost everyone here won't go. We're all very geo-specific, except for you, who live in Austin now. It's the first time you've come back to your point of origin. I know, a whole year cycle around the sun and everyone says, oh, I used to go to that place, Wakeman did. But it got so full of people, it got so claustrophobic, it was like a sauna. I want to go where no one goes. So they come to poetry. It's true you can clear a room faster than chemical weapons if you say we're having a poetry reading. If you really want to get rid of people to say it's an open mic, everyone's welcome. No one believe them. Which is the point of it all. You don't need to believe me. And all the rules they tell you are lies. Free verse, 2014, it's our time. All the end-stop rhymes, the structure, the assonance, onomatopoeia, the alliteration. Well, that's the story of the page of the past. If you really feel like repeating the past, it's like poetry karaoke. Language of familiarity program. But you ain't ever heard this before, and you'll never hear it anymore. And even if it's not your native languages, it's in the language which is the biggest of all, which is imagination. So I open your eyes and I open your ears to the possibility that what you hear this evening might just make a further extension of the possible. To take the metaphor of your own life into a voyage which takes us out tonight, beyond San Marcos and the storms impending, into a little piece of harmony we call the island of poesy. Here, of course, you can imagine dolphins and unicorns and fairies and demons and elves, pixies and sprites, and that they are part of San Marcos tonight, because imagination rules, at least if you allow it to. So I hand it over to you. This is just the picador, the matador, the open door. The full bull will be racing around Paloma, and we will be avoiding the horns of a I need to believe a single thing. These are only the stuff of dreams which you presented before.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Give it up for Thom and Scott. Always great show. All right, and coming up next, we have Louise. Everybody, you know Louise? Yay!
Well, I've been trying to fix up a little venue in my backyard, and this is the struggle. Meadow redux. Little green hairs sprout from the face of my lawn, monster blades nearly tripling their height in a day, from seeds I planted there less than a week ago, in the good black earth, good rich black farming soil. Toiling and tilling the soil is most uncharacteristic of me. Yet I twist my five-pronged tiller, four corners, one center, pressing hard with right foot, turning and repeating, clomping around in old clunky shoes with detached soles, clown shoes that make me clown walk around lest I stumble. I mark a rectangle in the ground, gouging divots into squares, continuing the process until all patches are plowed. Seed is sown, covered with soil, and all is sprinkled over from the ancient backyard hose leaking from the faucet. The meadow, left to its own devices, became overgrown with little scrub trees, weeds, and all-encompassing ivy. I called in professional help to clear out the brush and to reveal the land again, a natural amphitheater, a gentle slope, inclining down to a flat stage surface. I till the soil to make ready for good friends to perform and picnic and enjoy outdoor entertainment. After years of staid reclusion, I open my home, my life, so as to share what I love with those I admire. And welcome.
All right, thank you, Louise. All right, coming up next, we have, what's his name? Oh, yes, this guy! Hey, Mike, what's my name? All right, I still have been kind of going through, I've got a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to be a dad. And so I've been kind of working on, all that. I haven't really been able to write too much, so digging in, to the back catalog. This is Conversations at the Bar when Cupid has a few too many.
I like it.
Surprise, surprise! I found Cupid at a bar, made all the more absurd and disturbing by his public drunkenness and his blatant nudity. Plus the quiver and bow hung crooked across his wings. Bleary-eyed Cupid, squinted at me and at the nuanced couples mingling like little pawns across his chessboard. With each awkward gesture and each misjudged move, a toast in honor of his ego. And so it was without warning that Cupid fumbled for his bow and drunkenly fired into the crowd. Certain that there's always someone lovesick, ready to be love-struck. Certain that there's always a person's passion ready to be charged on credit. Certain that there's always a quota of Valentine roses to be clipped and shipped. But I was shocked. No one seemed to really notice Cupid. They only seemed to notice each other's makeup, made-up plumage. No one seemed to hear Cupid's repetitive sighing. They only heard the clinking of glass in their half-empty glasses of courage. And they only heard their hot whispers promising hotter nights that rarely, if ever, had a chance of dawning. I was confused to find Cupid acting in such a way, and I was surprised to find that no one flinched when his arrow hit. At most, they only scratched or twitched at some soothing biological itch, or they smiled and beamed from some glowing genetic need. I took a seat next to Cupid and ordered around for the two of us. Cupid smiled at my star-stricken gaze and gave me an appreciative nod. No mortal has bought me a drink in as long as I can remember. In fact, it is rare that a mortal has even given me more than a pause, beyond those acclamations they can only offer during their most ecstatic of exclamations. He downed his drink and leaned in close as he gave the bartender the signal for another. You know, normally I don't do this, but you look like a good guy. So for you, I'm going to do this most special, this most privileged of favors. Who is it here that your libido swings towards? Who here could you rapture like a saint in sinner's clothing? Just give me the word, and with one simple arrow, she is yours for the having. He fumbled for his bow and quiver, and I pushed them away. He ignored my move, or he never noticed and continued to rant. So who is it here that you want? How about that leggy cherry bomb sizzling over there? I bet 10 minutes with her and she could blow you straight out of the stratosphere. Or better yet, what about that soft and soulful star floating over there with those velvet midnight lips? Oh, on those lips you could dream of every universe and heaven real or conceived. Or maybe instead you see that subdued siren dancing by the jukebox. I see her serenading you with the way her lips shape those lyrics. She's hypnotizing you with her hips, swaying beneath the beat. Yes, I can see it in your eyes. You're outlining her curves with your boldest brush. So, my good friend, which beauty do you want? Or perhaps you want them all. He boasted with laughter that I found embarrassing and yet irresistibly intriguing. I did my best to suppress my disappointment in this Cupid that I had discovered, and I did my best to redirect all that southbound blood back to my north-thinking head. I tried to tell him he had me and everything entailed all wrong. You see, I don't think your arrows are meant for all these random flights of fancy. I've come to believe that every arrow must mean something special. That if any arrow is to matter anything at all, then every arrow must represent all that I find to be holy, life-lovingly unique. And then he waited for me a little bit. And he appeared both frustrated and confused, so I continued with desperation, underlining my point. What I'm hopefully saying, my dear rosy Cupid, is that if you were to help me and not harm me, then you must be as disciplined as you are passionate. You must treat your arrow as if they are of a finite number. And most importantly, each arrow must represent the values I desire the highest, and not simply the lust that I hunger for the hardest. Cupid remained quiet, and now more withdrawn. Am I making sense? All I'm doing is mimicking my heroes, those romantics whose shoulders I sit upon whenever I pen my tributes. Cupid stared into the distance as I paid for our drinks, and before I left, I gambled one last plea. You know all those arrows you shot wildly into the crowd? Why not take a moment and watch the couples you managed to hit? And tell me, dear, spirited Cupid, what are their odds of any kind of lasting love? Is it just one night? Is it just 2 days? Or are they a rarity and they last longer than a month? Then tell me, dear, dispirited Cupid, of all those hapless and innumerous hearts, how many were better off before your arrow intervened? Cupid never answered. He only stared into his empty drink and quietly signaled for another round. For all you new people that have come in, if you want to read, this is the list. So put your name on the list. To any of y'all that have come want to read, put your name on the list. If y'all new people, any of y'all? No? Nobody? Nobody? Alright, this is going to be a short round one then. Alright, coming up next we have Ben. Everybody give it over to Ben! Yay!
There's gonna be rain. That kid kicking a can down the street isn't a kid, he's a rat. He's got a gun on your side, he wants your wallet. We're all gonna make each other cry today, then we're gonna pay for it tomorrow. Believe me, every second is built from surface tension. We mix our cocktails under the sink, we dry our hair in the ovens. I wanted a plum slice for my Mexican beer. I cut into my index finger with a pocket knife. You stood at my side and watched me bleed for a moment. My love was a coat made out of the finest silk and concretes. When the sun rose over the ice in Lexington, I was out in sweaters, switching hands, smoking. But I had been out there for so long, both my hands were numb and red. I watched a deer stand next to a frozen pond looking thirsty. I had never thought about dehydrating in the cold. When I tried to call you, you didn't answer, so I went upstairs and took the hottest shower I could, and I touched my skin, thought of you. I ate breakfast and stared out the window. There was one gray squirrel and no birds. I went to Las Vegas on business and drank whiskey from tiny bottles on the plane and looked at the desert beneath me and thought I might vomit. I fell asleep and dreamt I put my hand on the knee of the woman sitting next to me and woke up with tremendous apprehension. I am going to suck on your neck until I suck the air from your throat. I am going to wear your clothes until I grow out of them. The plane is going to fall out of the sky. The flight attendant in the aisle is having an affair with a pilot whose wife has cancer. When you weren't kissing me, you were holding your breath and waiting for me to go away. I was going away faster than I thought. I was under the wave and then I was laying on the beach and I thought I would die, but I didn't, so I didn't change. I was gone for 4 days and you dyed your hair twice. I never got to see it blonde. I woke up on the ground and you were there waiting at the airport. It was 2 o'clock in the morning and you were eating an apple to stay awake.
All right, wow, thank you. Do y'all want to read first? Y'all want to read? Yeah. All right, cool. Jack.
Horseshoe.
Horseshoe.
Yeah.
All right. I'm potatoes, so that's completely normal to me. All right, coming up next, we have Rachel. Everybody give it up for Rachel!
Where is Rachel?
Oh, there she's good. Yeah, Rachel!
Doing great. Some days I feel alright. I have a new coat of paint and I'm slowly healing. But every time I hear your name or see your type of car or drive past your exit on the freeway, I think of how you carefully sanded me down to fit you and part of my new shiny exterior, chips. I feel like you whittled me down, took a sander to me when we started talking. At first it wasn't much. It wasn't hard to soften my edges. You were a sculptor after all. We fit together perfectly for a while, and you sanded into your shape, molded into your embrace. But we were never the same person, and changing to fit someone else's looking hurts. When the one we love more than anyone decides that even though you now fit, you were too different from the start, so you left. Now, who you asked? Painted me shiny and new? I did. I decided to be my own fucking artist, and no one can love me more than myself, no, not even me. So with the new coat of paint, I go proudly into the world. Yes, I am a different shape now, and that's okay. I was molded by my first love, and boy was I impressionable. So now I am stronger. I am covered in shellac, and I am ready to face tomorrow with the heart of a lover and the wisdom of a rapper.
All right, thank you, Rachel. I just want to say, we've got, unless any of y'all that have not read or not on this want to read, we've got about 3 more poets left for the end of round 1. Then we're going to take like a 10-minute break. Then we're going to come back for round 2. It's going to be even better than round 1. And round 3 is just going to, you won't even know what's happening. And also, we like to take a picture of all this because this is amazing. This is so amazing. Y'all are all representing something so amazing. Poetry, open mic, San Marcos. We like to show that. We like to show the enthusiasm up on the page. San Marcos Poetry Night on Facebook. Your beautiful faces are going to be on there. We can tag you if you want. Or you can just, disassociate. That's fine too. But yeah, so we're gonna do that after round 1. It's gonna be great. So coming up next, we have Scott's. Everybody, give it over, Scott's.
Got me okay? I decided about 20 minutes ago. It's a good decision. It's something that maybe before the end of the night you'll decide too. I decided I'm going to quit being sorry for all those things I love. I found myself yesterday apologizing for something I adore. So I'll list a few. I love coming to open mics and have made it my life for the last 3 years because every time I see a poet stand up, they're scared, they're afraid, they're timid. They do it anyway. They take that part of them that's inside and they lay it out on the table. Something they might have written 10 years ago or something they might have written 10 seconds ago. And they set it out there, they go through the motions, they make it work, and they come out with a sound that sounds like moonshine on silver days when there's nothing but rain falling. I love my children. I love my children because they are so sweet and open-ended. They don't answer questions anymore. They just ask them. I love my friends because every time I touch or see a friend or someone I haven't seen in a while, I can tell they've touched all those people they haven't seen and I've never met, but I can see through them and all those other people. I love the fact that there are people in this world like y'all I have yet to meet, but in the space of 3 hours or 2 hours I'll meet you because you'll give me some part of yourself that transcends this room and this life. I love my parents for bringing this weird capsule of a time portal machine thing that transcends all things, yet moves and plays guitar. Yet there's some part of me that's outside that exists in rooms full of flowers. Bays where the sea rolls in and the sun never sets and I lay there and watch it. Happy for a moment that I'm static. I love that the world's dynamic and it leaves no part out and shares everything with you, but in the end it doesn't give a rat's ass what happens to you. I love the fact that the music, in fact, never, ever, ever, ever stops. And maybe it's just me and I've got screws loose, but everything I hear, my air conditioning. Frappuccino maker. It doesn't have to be birds or dogs or the children who live next to me and play all day long and sing. It just has to be the sound. It ain't silence, it's something else, god damn it. It's a bold, beautiful, thunderbolt, lightning striking sound that says every eye opens every morning because if it didn't, it would be death. I love the moon. I love the sun. I love all those glorious stars, but I love this earth like you wouldn't believe. And maybe there is some part of you inside you that understands that this thing I come from is more bold and grand than anything I've ever met in my whole life. And I'm damn glad to be here, not in just this spot, in just this room, in just this life, but at that fact that I ever existed at all. And I've seen things that haven't, like hatred, anger, rage, victimization, and victims. People call themselves as such when there's no thing like that. So I'm not sorry anymore, I'm proud. Of all the things I love, and there's roomfuls and stadiumfuls and forestfuls of them. Because they all tie together in some form or another. And I'm glad y'all lent me your ears. Peace.
All right, thank you, Scott. All right, coming up next, am I doing this right? Oh my gosh.
Loosening it.
I'm loosening it. I don't know if it's doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Well, you know what, Jack, record this. I like that confusion. All right, well, Jack is coming up next. Everybody get over Jack. Yay! We'll be here all night. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, good. I like
Thank
my
you.
mics like I like my women. Standing. I don't even know if that's a joke. This one's called Eyes Front Forward. She came over looking used. The wrinkles in her face were set, but she'd started growing new ones right behind them. And asthma coats the inner windshield, while big fat flops of rain shit all over the outside. Cafe on the Square contains the sustenance we seek, because someone there will have a lighter. We begin by talking some relationship shit. I'm talking like a cured man, but it becomes quickly apparent we really do share a boat. Maybe I should date the Catholic, but hold off on L-word drama. Or quit drinking whiskey while the others are asleep. She can't contain her glee about a boy text. I tell her what to text back, and she does, although my joke probably set her back. Because she shouldn't be getting in deep with him like this. The coffee grinds her teeth, but there's more to drink. This place is dead. We're the worms feasting on the inside. I didn't order that, but it goes well with the rest. She knows we're in love, and I thought that I'd kept it a pretty tight secret. Well, I start bawling, not from that, from the other stuff. She reaches her hand across the table, says she forgives me in so many words. I just think that I'm undeserving of her hand on mine. Her eyes are wide, and lips curled up. She remembers all we've been through, and it's not much quantity, but quality, ooh la la. This music is great, and the waitress has a lighter. I'm smoking so that I'll be out, so that tomorrow I'll wake up with the question making its way out of my brain and into my feet. Do I go buy more? Can I trust myself to bleed out the contagion and leave all the goodies inside? Afterwards, in her darkened car, we listen to a song she wants to cover with our hands apart and eyes front forward.
All right, we have just one more poet, that'll be the end of round one, unless any of y'all that have just joined would like to jump on. Anybody? Yes, you. What's your name?
Adam.
Adam. I'm writing so this doesn't fall on my face. Good enough. Okay, coming up next, we have Horseshoe. Everybody get off a Horseshoe! Yay! All right.
So this is a short one. It's called Orange. Oxygen tanks and tubes give him superpowers. Superpowers to walk from his car to the electric carts in the supermarket. Only stops for air twice. Superpowers to watch his son shoot hoops and miss every time, telling him how it's done, not showing him. Superpowers to cough so hard that children understand mortality. And now the metal cylinders that give him breath look like the ones that he loaded onto the planes, that dropped into the trees and hamlets and burnt the breath from 1,000 gooks, and then burnt him a little too. So that 35 years later, 2 kids, 12 and 13, cry in a church parking lot because daddy couldn't pick them up from school today.
All right, coming up next, we have Adam. And just after Adam, no, you can still come on. Yeah, give it up for Adam. Everybody out there. And after Adam's done, if y'all want to come, and we're all going to take like a nice group photo. And it's going to be super great because all of y'all are beautiful and amazing, and the world needs to see this. And it's going to go up on the Facebook page, San Marcos Poetry Night. Thank you so much. Give it up for Adam.
The title of this poem is Scarecrow. I would go out into the wheat fields at dusk, trailing a calloused hand along golden stalks, sweltering under a pumpkin-colored sun, and I would stare at the straw man on the cross. I remarked at how empty he was. The crows were not afraid of him. I could not call him a scarecrow. I was not afraid of him. I could not call him a scare human. Indeed, nothing was afraid of him, so I called him a scare nothing. A murder had come long ago to pluck him blind. The black button eyes vacant, left only string behind. Melancholy, said I, as I tried to catch the veins that blew away in the breeze, twisting arrows in the maelstrom, helpless. I brought him down from his perch, and hung myself as a coat in his place. I never heard the crows call, and for a while the Scare-Nothing watched me, until he waded out into the fields, jaunty, stiff, and alive.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna do a group photo. Yeah! And we're gonna take like a 10-minute break, so like 8:20.
Some girl was selling it on the
Oh, nice.
We're gonna let everybody get settled down and sit, and we're just gonna start round 2 right now. If there's anybody that has not read, that did not get to read
yeah,
one,
someone's here.
please let me know, and I will put your name down on the list. Yes, what is your name? Dylan? All right. I had a dyslexic moment when I spelled your name, so you're never going to see it. All right. You want to read? Yes, what is your name? Aiden. Aiden. All right. All right, everybody. This is going to be... Yes. Annie. Yes, I keep liking this. Just more and more. More and more. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else that did not get to read round 1? All right. All right, this is round 2, everybody. For those of you that weren't here for round 1, we're going to go until the end of the list, and then we're going to have a little break, and then it's going to be round 3, and it's going to be so amazing, and you're just going to be like, wow, I'm so glad I came here. And also, are any of y'all familiar with AIPF, the Austin International Poetry Festival? No, that is a damn, well, yeah, you're good people, though. Well, you're all good people, but you become really good people when you learn about AIPF. It's a little known secret. AIPF.org. It's the Austin International Poetry Festival. Poets come from all around the world, literally all around the world. It's in Austin. It is one of the most amazing festivals. I've gone 5, 6, 7 times. Every year it gets better and better and better. Why am I bringing this all up? Well, on the 31st, they're having a fundraiser because they're bringing some amazing poets and they need to help raise money for it. So $15 a ticket in Austin, you can go to the fundraiser for AIPF. You're supporting a great cause. If you love poetry, you owe it to yourself to check it out. Thom, I'm sure, has been handing out these little cards and other stuff with AIPF on it. Thom is the man. He's the ambassador of poetry. So thank you so much for that, Thom. And with that being said, everybody, give it up for Thom. Yay!
Lebanon. I am the man who buys cars by the side of the road. You know the ones with prices in the windshield. I am at South Lamar, corner of Old Torp, and I see this van. I go towards the van because it's safe and cheap. I see this man come towards me as if I am honey and he is the bee. His name is Raju, in English Roger. But his eyes are Levantine. I buy him. I drive the van until it breaks down. He stops selling cars. He refers me to his friend George. George runs the garage on South Lamar. I gather poets and musicians, and when we open up the garage, we open up with poetry and music, which is the way every inauguration should happen, says Robert Frost, says Maya Angelou. So that's fine, except George gets robbed. He doesn't mind, because it was an employee. They took the security system too. Check this poem, because it's true. On the corner of Bluebonnet and South Lamar, you'll still see the Lebanese garages, now run by his brother called Eddie. Why do I tell you this? Because as young as you are, I ran an open house. And in that open house, my landlady was Lebanese and she was psychic. She said to me, Thom, I know you've got homeless people staying in my house. My brothers want to evict you. But I know the poet of my homeland. As long as you do poetry, you have a home for the rest of my life. Now she's gone, of course, and I am gone because I left. But she knew about Khalil Gibran, poet of the Lebanon. Every day in my inbox I get the Daily Star, which is the newspaper from Lebanon. It tells me that in a population of 3 million, they have 1.3 million refugees. Work that one out. It means that in Lebanon now, which used to be the Paris of the Middle East, before the wars, before Syria, before Hezbollah, before Hamas, before the refugees came in, it was the place, the most open society in the whole of the Middle East. I say this because I don't talk about the Old Testament, the cedars of Lebanon. I talk about 2014 and the 1.3 million refugees who are now in small camps, having run from Syria, having run from Iraq, and going to the Lebanon. Now I go to that garage on Lamar still. I take my small old car because I trust the Lebanese spirit, which is one of openness and love. And I take Khalil Gibran books as thanks for repairing my car and keeping me mobile. You see, there's something stronger than love. It is culture, freedom of speech and assembly. It is what you're doing right now.
All right, thank you, Thom, and thank you, Scott. This is great, Scott. Thank you, Thom, man. All right, now everybody give it up for Louise.
Hey, I only started writing haikus a couple of months ago, and whoa, this is a few of the latest ones. New cranberry car, improved gasoline mileage, cup holders galore. This is another one about my backyard. 3 green vines thrive there, 1 grape, 1 poison, 1 greedy. Green hegemony. Young musicians blare drowning poetic lyrics. Thom is not amused. Mocha bites my hand, the one that feeds milady. Ungrateful feline. Pecan windfall drops, alert the usual squirrels, collect your bounty. And one more. Pink, hard rock boulders surrounding marble falls, now taken for granted.
Yeah, I love that. A good haiku is one that really stays with you. And actually, that's good because at AIPF, they have the haiku death match. And 2 people go up and they battle it out with haikus. It's absolutely amazing. I don't know if I'm going to get the syllables right on this one, but the one that won my first year that I went there that just always stuck with me is I am red and you are blue. When we come together, we are purple. And yeah, you know, okay, well, it had a deeper reaction to me. Okay, people, that's what matters. Oh, coming up next is me. That's a good thing about having a horrible memory is you constantly surprise yourself. All right, this is called Little Embers. It began with a little ember I caught of a spark from the filament of your iris. That sea, that web, that portal you call the Stargate. And from your feet I gathered kindle, so that ember could have a nest. I placed it in my left breast pocket, where it rested, where it rooted, where it became a phoenix egg. And on the day of your goodbye, I reached for that weight in my pocket, and I laid it at the place that you once stood, at the point of our collision, at the point of our cohesion. I followed your instructions, and I formed a pyre. And with your light that never left me, I lit the first, the best gift you ever gave me. And remembering your present with reverent eyes, I saw a flame rise, I saw a phoenix stoked, I saw little embers break for the stars. Thank you. Whoa! Woo, poetry night! All right, coming up next we have Ray. Give it up for Ray!
I don't very often write formal poetry. I started to write a sonnet just for the hell of it, and probably came out more like a limerick, but some combination of the two. I once knew a man who wrote limericks and sonnets. He had no fixed abode. He was as poor as a subway mouse. But he knew how to tunnel beneath women's bonnets, and most nights of his life he slept in a house. He preferred having no job and usually succeeded. He spent his time in bars and cafes and in bed. With pals he conversed, and with gals he proceeded to give a good hosing after giving them head. He boozed, schmoozed, and caroused for many years. He was a man of many parts and many wives, many mistresses and many wines, whiskeys, and beers. This two-legged cat has richly enjoyed his 9 lives. Though he now lives alone at the end of the journey, he'll write sonnets and limericks he'll wield out on the gurney.
Thank you, Ray. You know, I don't know if I'm sad or glad that Nantucket didn't show up in that. All right, coming up next we have Ben. Everyone give it up for Ben. Yay! That's not a sign. Don't let that get to you. It happens to the
One in 5 guys.
I don't usually read this one. Jack's heard me read this one, but I don't usually read this one. So I'll read this one. I wake up to a freedom of dogs barking down the block, with my shirt stuck to my back and the window light letting on. Spring was a mess. You were not privileged to blink the winter away with grace. No, Texas insists that God's light doesn't care to dapple our bodies. It is 8 minutes old, and it wants to burn us alive. Child, you have to sweat out the season like a fix. So I ride the highway west in strong light, string myself across cities as if dragging my body from the bumper, stop to smoke outside of a Wendy's where the dead cigarettes of strangers blow through the feet of grackles. Every day they bite over leftover French fries, their beaks collecting salt that never saw the sea. I guess it rained here this morning. The parking lot exhales steam into the sky so quickly spent, like all of us, it grows blue and changes its mind. There's a cell phone in my pocket, and the engine still turns over, thank God. Otherwise, no one and nothing in this world belongs to me. You found me, underdressed in Dallas, when Dallas, in an unexpected gesture of sympathy, found it in her heart to snow. I put my hands in my freezing hands in your pockets, and we took a walk. As the parking lot of your high school slipped into a crystal ball gown, you said, "How about you stay in town a couple more days?" Between Waco and Fort Worth, you started crying, so we stopped at a Dairy Queen and I bought you a Blizzard. A middle-aged couple there, sitting on the same sides of the booth, pouring the contents of a flask into their Diet Cherry Cokes. I don't know why they took such a shine to us. The woman asked for our ages, then how long we've been together. About a year. The man recommended we make a home before they figured us out. They? Them. Those bastards. Right now, they're sitting at their desks working on the best way to steal your love from you. Motherfuckers, all of them, trust me. It happened to us. His wife turns her head toward the window and squeezes his hand. If I loved you again, if the West Texas Highway, never mind. If I were everything I wanted and you were happy, if you were everything you wanted and I was happy, I would take me, left grenadine from an oasis, the holy desert of your stomach, like in the old days, spreading wildfire, eating the good roots from the dust, looking like the dog I am, not this dead dog, burst in the median, always receding in the rear view, looking like I loved you again. To the little girl who wrote Christ's name in a sidewalk chalk curbside next to the name of her absentee father, I apologize for sun showers. To you, for every night I gave away my tongue, I spent up that silver now. A new woman unfolds her body over my dirty sheets and reads the spines of books I stole from your shelves in paper light. If I push my fingers into her hair, she will pause and say, I don't think I have any fucking clue how to make myself happy, put on clothes, and drive herself home. While I take another sip of my drink, caught in the dream where you run out the door and I run after you, again and again. If you are fucking that boy the night before my grandfather's funeral, while I share an air mattress with my brother, then I am in your arms at your parents' house, crying my eyes out after putting my dog to sleep. Your voice in my ear saying, darling, darling. If I am telling you that I want to leave you for a green-eyed girl with a homemade tattoo, then I'm showering you in flowers the day after the day we thought we might be having a baby. If you are screaming at me to stop the fucking car and run into the oak-lined streets, then I'm waiting for you in that red brick neighborhood, watching the sunset gore the sky. If we are still in love, then I'm picking you up and giving you half of my bed the night he got you drunk but wouldn't drive you home. This isn't a joke about a man who walks into your bedroom and throws a glass of whiskey at the mirror, just a rasp, smiling into that webbed and frozen sea. Now there's a reflection I can get behind. This isn't the one about a woman who turns an orchid, a birthday gift from her lover, into a mess of light and dirt and glass, and then shrugs her shoulders saying, finally, a gift I deserve. Not the one about a woman who drinks the Gulf Coffee Coast down every night so she can sleep in her bed, so she can sleep with her lover's hands inside her bed. Nah, this is the joke about the two kids who stand together in a limestone riverbed steeped in August. Two kids who kiss and take a picture of their long light shadows and blush when all of Texas stands up and claps, but they're just clapping for the shadows. On acid, across the river, in a cafe, lost for 2 hours. Our food took time. The waiter spoke with my same inflection and kept touching everyone except me. I threw my shadow down and drank it until the phone rang. It was your voice splitting the air like the world's fastest cardinal. Outside, so happy to hear from you, I stood doused in neon signs and sunset and almost started crying when I remembered you didn't live here anymore. If you ever decide to come back, the West Texas Highway, never mind. If you ever decide to come back, I will learn how to be angry for you. We can fuck in the backseat of my car, parked outside the tennis courts with our backs arched against the bleached teeth of opulence. Every hot breath spent to keep the incisors from clicking together. Every hot breath repeating, we are the only living things in Texas, and when you come, your father will have a heart attack and I will say a prayer. I will say it for the housewives crying off their makeup and the children who hide their bruises. I will pray that it kills him. I needed you, darling. I needed you to take off your dress and share this bed with me, so you did, and where did that get us? You didn't want me to cry. You took me to breakfast. There were crumbs in the corner of our mouths, and I almost knocked over your coffee, one dark splash in the saucer. Across from you, I sat wishing you would take my picture in that booth, in that diner, and say, this is for your book jacket, baby. This is for when you get famous and leave me behind. If you had just walked out the door like I was walking out the door, if I had just spilled your coffee, constellated an impression of my freckles into the fabric of the blue dress you wore as you sat quietly at the table eating your eggs, easing into the future. This is the joke where I go after those motherfuckers who stole our love from us and I find them. When I hold their faces against the blazing sidewalks with the heel of my boot until they begin to blister, but those are just our faces. This is the joke when a dead dog scrapes himself off the West Texas Highway and walks himself home. You are his owner, and you run your fingers through his bloody coat. Darling, where have you been? How was it out there? And the dog puts his head in your lap and says, rough.
That was rough indeed. Thank you. Coming up next, we have Rachel. Everybody give it up for Rachel!
So these are really short. Like, this one and the one I'm going to do is like nice and really short. Baby, if you ever feel alone, just walk outside. The world isn't wide. I get that you feel isolated and cold, but the sun is out and the sunbeams shine down. I promise it will be okay. What you need to do is go outside, where things grow, so maybe your soul can.
Thank you. You know, I think we all needed that after that one. No, don't ever apologize. That was great, man. All right, coming up next, we have Scott. Everybody give it up for Scott.
Trusting someone else. I'll mark it. I'll say a few words. I brought my CDs. I've been doing this for like 4 years now, recording all my shows and making audio tracks of the shows as well as a DVD of the shows. At this point, no money, no job. If you want a DVD, you can give me whatever you want for it. Put something, please. They're back there. The DVD has, I think, 21 songs on it. Each CD is about 10 or so. All the work I ever do is completely spontaneous, completely live. So to a degree, it's all like this. This is sort of the thing that I do. So live is a funny way to put it because y'all are all alive. This is sort of like, let's take this down. There you go. Thank you, Thom. I think this is I don't know about y'all, but I think we could use a few wide open spaces at this point. So let's see where we go with that. Where do you go when you want to know the wide open spaces? For me, it's laying on the couch and squeezing myself until there's nothing left, but the nothing past the infinitesimal. I know there are some folks who go down to Twin Falls or the river down here. Some people go out to the Grand Canyon and they see vistas so wide the sun never sets on them. I know others who curl up next to their lover and something opens up inside them wider than the wings of the clouds on a fall day. And behind it all there's a sound. For me, it was laying on the couch when my daughter was about 6 weeks old. And she had fallen asleep. And I knew that what was her had sent roots down into the earth. 4 hours later, 5 hours later, having not moved at all, she woke up. And there had been something that connected me to the center of this place that we call Earth. At night, I stare into my computer and I send out poems. And yet in the middle of all that, see everything you've ever written. And it's not surprising we think of them like trees, because the leaves fall off and we submit poems, we get accepted or we get rejected. And all the while the waters within us bubbling up. It says, I want to write another one. I want to write that next one. I want to have that love about words and life and joy and passion and camaraderie and friendship. And the list goes on and on. Don't need to say anymore. Love, loyalty, hope, courage, faith. I played a game one time with my daughter, and I've said this recently a couple times too. She's 8, that same daughter that I was a tree with. I recommend you do it with 30-year-olds and 50-year-olds and 80-year-olds. We laid in my bed and we went through the alphabet, A to Z, saying all the positive words. So we couldn't say anger, we couldn't say regret, we couldn't say fear, we couldn't say loss, but we could say armadillo, and aardvark, and zoology, and cat, and dog. It's about an hour. But it was fabulous. And she looked at me and we racked our brains. And aren't poems just that? When we sit down and we say, there's something, I've got to make a poem. I've got to say something I've never said before because there's something inside me and god damn, I can't see it unless I write it. I do these things and I say these things because there seems to be an open space between all of us that just wants to be filled with love and poems and sounds and paintings and words and hugs and embraces and kisses and butterfly wings and things like elves and hobbits and God, it's so much fun to be alive. Fill the spaces, watch this fish. When the boats come in the shore and someone meets you that you've never met before, reach out and hug them. Say, thanks, I'm glad you're here too. If you weren't, you sure as hell would be boring.
I know how to work this line. Hey. Look at me.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. All right. I spoke way too soon. You know, I really, really love what Scott and Thom do. Just making that stuff up on the fly, that is so amazing. I've tried it. Never had an open mic. It is really hard. So, I mean, support them, man. Get that stuff. It is great. Coming up next, we have JackH. Everybody give it up for JackH.
Maybe lower.
Yeah, lower.
College.
That's not how stuff works.
No.
What about magnets?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't
Okay,
think
right.
Oh, wow.
So this next poem is called 1 in 5 Guys. That's a joke. No, this poem is called Say That Again, but slower and for the camera. So I used to make music on my laptop. I used to make synthesized beats, and I used to compose those beats into a rhythm and, produce songs that way. But I felt like that was cheating. So I started, I bought like a drum, and I started hitting it and recording that and doubling that, and keyboard sounds, I would mix sounds, I would mix them together on my laptop, and I made music that way. But I felt like that was cheating. So I learned how to play guitar, and I learned how to play keyboards, and I tried to learn how to play drums, and I started making songs that way, and I would record them all together, and I would release these songs, but I felt like that was cheating. So I learned how to make a guitar. Wow.
Oh.
And I learned to temper the wood so you can make it into that neck, and I put the rod in there, and I would string it myself, and I would make drums, and I would, go to the forest and find wood for other things, and I made music that way with homemade instruments. But I felt like I was cheating, so I bought a goat farm, and I would slaughter the goats, and I would stretch their skin over the drums, and I killed elephants for their ivory so I could make a piano, and I killed guitar things. And I learned to temper the metal to make my own strings. But I felt like that was cheating. I don't make music very much anymore.
I had no idea where you're going with that. And it was awesome. It was just great. All right. Coming up next, we have Horsehoe. Everybody give him a Horsehoe.
Alright, so this is also a short one. And kind of more of a vignette than a poem, so sorry for ruining everything. She toys with a pack of cigarettes, opening it and peeking in, closing it and turning it over in her hands and in her mind. She opens the pack again, drags out a cigarette and lights it, drawing the unfiltered spirit through her. The smoke spills from her nose into the biting autumn air, twisting around her and seeping into her tangled dark hair to cling there until morning. She lets the lighter drop into the collage of cigarette butts and empty pitchers. Sorry to anyone who's trying to quit smoking.
Yeah, that's very evocative. Yeah. All right. We've got about 7 or 6 more. I could count, but and then we're going to take a little break. 10-minute break for round 3. So coming up next, we have Adam. Everybody give it up for Adam.
I wrote this one earlier today.
Yay!
The title is A Whimper. Ziggurats of glass, filled to the brim with stone. A pebble is moved, and the tower shatters. Rust and rust, and rust away. Cornucopias, fainted steel, wither in the sand. Pour out thine fruits back to nature. Rust and rust, and rust away. Jagged structures of fallen metropolis, held up by the bones of sinners. Rust and rust, and rust away. Billowing rags around my shoulders, around my nose, mouth, keep out the dust. Rust and rust, and rust away. I stand in a valley of tombs, and on the ground scraper I hear the world whimper.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, coming up next, we have Rupal. Everybody give it up for Rupal. Yay! Read it.
Can you hear me?
A little closer.
Hold up. Okay. Sorry.
Can you hear me now? I fear the day I'm told you took your life, that I won't blink an eye because I've grieved too many times for you. Too many mornings I woke up to wondering if I will see you again. How many nights have I slept waiting for a call? The dark and a twisted heart. I counted how many times on the corners of history and education books I mindlessly drew you hanging on a rope, and I chained to a pole, always just out of reach. But now, I don't even try. While you hang, I can only watch. Like a song that's been on repeat for too long, I can't hear what you're saying anymore. Never mind my pathetic heart, because despite it all, you fight every day. laughing and crying, seeing things in the dark, having coffee, walking back in paranoia, manic and animating, writing, living even when you deny. Keep saying you want to die. No, you want to live. Do you see who's dying with a functioning heart, refusing to feel? It's not you. It never was.
Did you hear how quiet it got when she read that? That was amazing. Wow. All right. Coming up next, we have Ryan. Everybody give it up for Ryan! Yay!
Can y'all hear me? Okay, so this one is called I Want to Smash Your Cell Phone.
I like it already.
I want to smash your cell phone, crush it into the dust. This is a priority, may I say that I must. Your cell phone has become a part of you on your person day and night. I see you hold it dear, which is an awful, awful fright. You feel naked without it, an unprecedented thought to those who came before the convenience phones have brought. Is it just me, or can it be true that micro-radiation will turn us all blue? Or perhaps red, green, orange, or yellow, whatever color, it sits unwell with this concerned fellow. You depend on its brain and have turned your own off. What was your friend's number again? No cheating now, I quietly scoff. The benefits are obvious, and the convenience is great. How else could I find the export of our 38th state? Colorado's main exports are beef and medical supplies. I love technology just as much as any of my friends, but do the means currently justify the ends? I can't find a minute where phones aren't being checked. Our privacy and social lives are slowly being wrecked. Friends call me friend when we haven't talked for an age, but it's all well and fine when they post on my Facebook page. The irony is plain enough for anyone to see. Big Brother has become you, she, me. Smartphones with microphones and cameras galore. This is something that I truly deplore. To sum things up, I want to cause some trouble, to remind people that their phones can be crushed into rubble. So let me smash your cell phone, and I promise you this, life without one is better than ignorant bliss. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I was really conflicted with that moment because I was going to live tweet that. So that was some great wisdom. I wanted to share it with the world. All right, coming up next we have Nick. Everybody give it up for Nick. Yay! Uh-oh, he's got a cell phone.
Alright, these are like very short, so I'm gonna try to combine a couple of things together. Make it kind of like long, but if not, well then I did my job. Work is where the ego, conflicted minds collide. Shelter pie, we lose, we die. Are you forsaking the bread or laugh because you didn't take your meds? Impress me at this unjustified party to make my ends feel sorry. You have a cute little honey, so stop whining. Things like that is what I have trouble finding. Caught in the fire, lost and inspired. This is legit, like a sound-biting midget. Things aren't the same without rain, the shower, or a precious dame. And morning is what our night gave birth to. And politicians do not know that once they get elected, they will soon be rejected. Good night.
Like Louise said, we can only hope. Thank you, that was great. All right, we just got 3 more poets left, and that'll be the end of round 2. We'll take a little 10-minute break, and then it'll be round 3, the final round. All right, so coming up next, we have Dylan. Everybody give it up for Dylan. Yay!
This book book, bound by white string and green pages. This is someone's life work. Yet I selfishly stomp on it with my atrocious words in order to alleviate the garbage inside me. But I can see them now. This book sitting on a shelf, and they bring their family or loved ones and point with a luminous smile on their face. Look at what I did. And they look upon their son or daughter or loved one and hug them for that moment of pride and joy. Our life, marked by these moments when we somehow don't fuck up everything, but create something worthwhile, something worth our time. This is part of why I live. This is a part of why you live. This book, bound by white string and cream pages.
All right, thank you. All right, so coming up next, we have Aiden. Everybody give it up for Aiden! Yay!
Is everybody familiar with the good old boy term, Heinz 57?
Nope. It's a condiment.
It's a reference to a racial mix.
Yeah, it basically means mutt. A lot of the times people call a mixed dog a Heinz 57 if you're from the South. This poem is called Heinz 57 or Confession of a Texan. You make me sick. Don't worry, I make me sick too. But here's the truth. I see so much of me in you that the sickness grew. It grew to consume each and everything we ever knew. Still, I roll through nostalgia like a never-ending Rolodex, memories too complex of numbers and dates to forget or recollect. They are only halfway memorized poems that I regret. But here's one to let you know, to let me express, to let me confess and try to resurrect my homeland. When I was young, I proudly told my peers about the pitiful percentage of Native American I claim, I guess. Now older, I fight just to keep the sight of their blood on my hands out of mind. Still holding love to view light in the slightest of white if it snows this December. I see the blackest of black every night when the sun turns its back on Texas. Because I remember that the wrong in the white is right, which is to say, well deserved. And the night, with its sky, is the reason why they say that the stars are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas. Speak for yourself if you're reckless, as a redneck is, which is to say, if you wish to stifle the ever-changing match and mix of a boiling pot, which the Lone Star State is. Each culture so big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. If you so feel inclined to keep your white rights, to keep your distance from the progress of integration, the progress we've accumulated through education, through racial variation, through equal parts communication, we've begun to build better communities for future generations. So if you want your old Texas back, before the proclamation, through chains and nooses, sitting on your lazy white ass at your damn tobacco plantation, then you may call me a Heinz 57, but you, my friend, are a purebred. Which is to say, they know today that genetic variation promotes growth and beneficial adaptation. Better suited for altercations, thriving and surviving to promote a better population. Cellular karma, consequence, collecting payback on behalf of how you live behind a wall that you created.
Very nice, and I am never going to look at the Heinz 57 bottle the same way again. Thank you for that. I love that. Yeah, every time I'm going to open the refrigerator, I'm going to think of you. All right, this is the last poet and poem for round 2. And we're going to take a little 10-minute break, and then we're going to come back here for the end for round 3. So everybody, give it up for Annie! Yay!
Can you hear me? Okay, this is called Leaves in the Breeze. In the fall, driving down the winding road leading to my house, an assortment of vibrant leaves can be seen as stirring as the cars go by, as I go by. They flurry in the wind of the car for a brief, fleeting moment and then are left behind, settling back into the cold black pavement. And maybe I am like those leaves and you are like those cars. For a second in time you tussle me passionately. Yet in a bright blaze you fizzle out and dissipate. You continue on your path to another street, another city, another bunch of vulnerable leaves. And then the next vehicle approaches in the distance, knowing it will do the same. Unable to escape the lonely cement in which I have blown onto. Always hoping, always yearning to be back among long, elegant branches held strong and steady by a rooted tree, where I once desired to leave and too late in the season realized I never should have let the breeze carry me away.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so we're going to take our little 10-minute break. So come back here at 9:20 for round 3. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everybody. I'm really sorry to break up all these wonderful conversations. And I'm really sorry to break the mic. I did.
Break them
Yeah, there you go.
Mike, break them
All right,
Okay.
everybody, welcome to round 3 of Santa Maria Poetry Nights. Thank y'all so very much for sticking around for the whole thing. Y'all are amazing, wonderful people. And if I can only ask you one more thing,
What's that?
that would be if you could help us.
Yeah, help us.
Put these chairs back in order in this room.
And the
Looking
tables.
nice, yes. These chairs and tables looking nice and pretty, just the way that Wake the Dead likes it. Because Wake the Dead is a wonderful venue, and hopefully you're tipping them out to the zoo and showing your support. So without further ado, let me give it up for, let everybody give it up for Thom and Scott. Yay!
If there's one thing I ask of you, it is to forget exactly what we're about to do. If there's 2 things I ask of you, it is to forget every singular word you're hearing this evening. If there's 3 things I want of you, it is to calculate the truth that silence will move in and make all of this insignificant. I was just talking to him about what makes a poem. He wanted to know about all the variety he heard this evening, which of these were actually a poem, because he saw that there were not a large amount of rhyme or not. You see, I said to him, everyone in this room is different. And it comes through like a fractured fractal. It comes through like a coloured spectrum, like that Pink Floyd cover that everybody's seen, The Dark Side of the Dream. And even though there's a new record coming from half of Pink Floyd, there's a new record coming out of this room, not just the ones he's got on the CDs on the table there, of his improvisations. I'm talking about the significance of distance. But okay, a lot of people think that death defines us. I say it's the reverse. I had a London poet who said, it's what you hate that makes you. I said, no, it's what you love that makes you. Both of us are wrong, of course. It's what you choose that makes you. And you can choose your frequency or choose your silences. I'm only asking that you forget everything I say, because you're going to forget it anyway. But six issues from now will be National Poetry Month 2015. In that month, we go up to the middle of West Texas, because I heard West Texas invoked tonight. I want to tell you that for the last 13 years, we have planted trees in Lamesa. And every year the West Texas winds destroy those trees. And every year we go back and plant more trees. And Lamesa is not known, Lubbock is known, because everyone who leaves Lubbock becomes a famous musician by leaving. Which is an art form too. If you leave your skin, death becomes you. But we go up there in the middle of nowhere and we do poetry like this in the Pizza Hut for pizza. Poetry in the old people's homes. They wheel them out, the sedated ones. We recognize them. I hand them shakers. They shake. They go back to their wards. Another year later, we come back and find them still there with the same medication, unless they're dead. So I ask you to forget this, because you won't be in Lamesa. But we go out there in the middle of nowhere because it makes sense. It makes poetry sense. You go to the middle of nowhere, the only place that have got a living drive-in. It's going to close down because they didn't want to shift to digital. They want the old formats, like we want the old formats, 8-track, cassette. Bring back the past because we're familiar with it. But I digress. All I'm asking you to do is to forget. If by chance a singular word sticks in your consciousness this evening, then I have failed. I want you to leave this room having learned nothing, having remembered nothing, having not one singular word except this. I will be going to West Texas one more time. I'll be going to Louise and planting a tree with the people around that tree. And I will wait for that tree to be blown down by the winds and the dust of West Texas, because that, for me, defines what poetry is. And that defines for me every singular word this evening that I can't forget.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Thom. And thank you, Scott. Thank you, Thom. All right. Coming up next, we have Louise. Everybody hear Louise?
Okay, I read a haiku earlier about one of my cats was milk and cappuccino. And there's this little cat that hangs around the yard. And she first came in as a kitten. And she's still a small cat, so I refer to her as the catten. This is the return of the catten. Eyes and ears of the catten peer over the windowsill, and seeing me disappear. The catten is a small cat, splotched in black and white, my Thom, Giancarlo's special friend. A female I have reason to believe, unless they are gay, won't judge. The catten sneaks into the house to munch some kibble and run when I snarl at her with a snore. Easier on my throat than a growl. Their relationship makes me wonder. I thought I had had the vet fixed Giancarlo years ago, although he wasn't broken. Apparently, he got over it somehow. The catten is terrified by my approach, careening off the kitchen cabinets like a feline pinball, and flees ballistically from room to room and out the window. I keep watch until I eventually nod off, but I know the catten will return then, in the coolness of the opened window, raised so Giancarlo and his mom Mocha may come and go in the night at leisure, trailing the cautious catten, not my cat, and sort of my cat, but don't tell her that.
I love that. I just wait, y'all. In a year, coming to Sci-Fi Channel, Return of the Cat. Yes. It's gonna be scary. All right. I didn't know what I was gonna read for round 3 until Scott and Thom went up, and I realized there's this poem I wrote about a documentary I saw that actually fits them perfectly too. It's called "This Too Will Melt." Last night I saw a documentary about an ice sculptor from far up north. A nondescript fellow that created art from that which is too cold to be held on for too long. For years before, surely for years to follow, he carved out what he saw with closed eyes and open ideas. He etched out what he felt with a searching heart, all from Cole's jealous grip. On this particular day, he created a dragon that burst from the ice, ready to challenge the hero of the story. He created a sword to pull from an azure stone, ready to give strength to the willing. And he created a rose with all the wrinkles of a rich life, ready to reward the resilient. He would spend all day creating these unique totems. Then he would abandon them outside and go off to bed, bone tired, knowing well that tomorrow they will melt. They will fade away, nearly towards never. And that all of this only adds to their value. They say his sleep is worth millions. He refuses to put a price on it. Thank you. Yeah. Coming up next, we have Ray. Give it up for Ray! Hooray!
Divorce is made in heaven. Steve eats only salmon, blueberries, and kale, and steel-cut oats. he drinks only green tea. He runs every other day, and on alternate days he goes to the gym. At 8 p.m. on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday, he has sex with his wife Cindy, who eats and drinks the same things her husband does. The only difference is that instead of running, she swims laps in the pool, and instead of going to the gym, she does Pilates. Neither of their taut, trim forms shows any sign of indulgence, and to all the world, their well-calibrated marriage appears to be in sync. Until one Monday, when Cindy goes not to the pool at the gym, but to the river, where she meets a poet named Carlos and falls for his lines. His habits are not so pure as Steve's. He drinks wine and smokes pot, and he's not averse to breakfast tacos. He says he even eats menudo on hungover mornings. Instead of going to Pilates on Tuesday, Cindy joins Carlos in his hammock for a different kind of exercise. And together they create stanzas of languorous love. That night back home, Cindy tells Steve that she has a headache. Thursday night, she says she's not in the mood, and by Saturday night, she's moved out to live with Carlos in his ramshackle pad. For a pittance, she signs away her share of the business to Steve, and she sells her Mercedes and her $2,000 racing bike. She donates her nice clothes and pricey shoes, as well as her spandex gear, to Goodwill in exchange for cutoffs, skimpy tops, and flip-flops. On Craigslist, she finds a $100 mountain bike, which she pedals to the river and back, and to the bars and cafes around town. A few months later, she sees Steve in court, where the judge pronounces them no longer man and wife. Outside on the sidewalk, they're friendly enough, but it's as if they're from different planets. They exchange news. He has not yet found a replacement for her, and on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, he now does martial arts. She has taken up painting and changed her name to Graciela. She asks herself, did I really live with this man for 7 years? She detects a note of distaste on his face as he looks at her unruly hair and the newly acquired flesh on her once taut frame. She thinks she looks better than she has in years, but he sees her healthy, glowing flesh, not as a sign of health. Oops, poet died. Come back next month for the rest of the I was afraid of that.
You saw it here first. The first ever poetry cliffhanger. Come back next time for part 2. What's going to happen? All right, coming up next, actually, I had her for a run. I'm going to sneak her in. It's Madeleine. Everybody give her Madeleine! Yay!
Hi, y'all. I haven't been here in a while. I don't know most of you. Alright. Casting lattice shadows are the many-peopled hordes which drip like syrup through the drunken night. Beneath the modern moonlight of neon signs sits Captain Moon-Eye, nodding over his paper bag. The scant lantern-backed streets yielding none of the opportunity for busking found in the gaping anthill of downtown. To look at him, you'd think him couched in childhood's grassy tines and sun pouring over the meadow. But that is from the way our captain's head doth tend toward the ground, and pleasure scarcely frames the corners of his mouth. But keep the keenness of your senses, my son. You'll suffer yet before the day is won. Bold Captain Moon-Eye hasn't wielded a weapon or a prayer since he lost half his eyesight in the great drunken stupor of 2004, and all his fortunes tucked away in heaven. He grieved his battle scars in potion, in vein, in coughing medicine, in paint fumes. His Moon-Eye once was red. His Moon-Eye, yes, his Moon-Eye once was red at the passion of his childhood, his daring, his deft evasion of a life cloistered in data cells. Moon-Eye was a capable cad, despair of the working order, saint of the overpasses. On a clear night, you could hear him braying madly at the cobblestone. 'Twas such a shifter, if truth were to be known. Death was half glad when he had got him down. But fortune's all in heaven, and no prayers to be had.
fate had been decided for this keenly clever cad. Old Moon Eye leans to take a piss behind a dumpster behind a tattoo shop, leaking unnamed grime in the creaking anthill of downtown. His spoils of the day amounted to pocket change and a month-old granola bar forgotten in someone's glove box. But he has no war decorations to convince greater fare. Our captain has no pistol, and his deafness is more rare. He wetly crows his drunken woes at the woman he'd like to ask to ease his pain, with inlaid eyes now dead pools of congregated thunderclouds. Those eyes once red and stung to hold back the soul inside. But come now, Moon Eye, you had to ditch your soul when it became too heavy to carry on your back. Tell us now, Captain, if you hadn't found the price of pitiless freedom to be too hard won, would you, by fortune's favor, be borne back across the sands of Egypt to take up the shackles of your master and flee the unruly riptide cast against your shore? Freedom, the goal is brazenly desired as moths desire flame, in whose fetid folds, cozened with lies and promises, the sheep who saw fit to maim the shepherd. And freedom, was he free? As the shadows tend toward the ground, the downtown anthill drips with gore. Captain Moon Eye, fallen soldier, hasn't got weapons anymore.
All right, thank you. It's great to have you back.
Thank you.
It's been, you know, that's what I love. There's people, I've been going over here for over a year. Jonathan, how do you say Jonathan's last name? Hubrush started this, and we see some familiar faces come in and out, and a lot of new faces, and it's just, this is a really great community here, and it's great to see people come back. Yeah, thanks. All right, so coming up next, we have Ben. Everybody give it up for Ben. Yay!
I like to do this thing, and this is the first time I've done it tonight, where I remix things that I've written into things for open mics. I don't know if there's a better term of art for that, but this is
Remix is good.
but so this is one of them. So it doesn't have a title. I can't shake the feeling we shouldn't be flying. It's fine with your eyes open, but now close them. Something in you knows humans can't move so fast. The skin peels tight against your cartoon bones. You eat a few days with Xanax and get left with the rest of your days. You kill yourself and get left with your memory. Your ghost looks just like you, but her hands are always empty. I am packing and unpacking a suitcase as I sleep. I have books, clothes, and 2 letters to send. I followed the interstate down through Pensacola, slapping my cheeks to stay awake. The moon a cherry, my teeth trembling, this road a scar I traced with my fingers. I wanted to keep its darkness on the outside of my body. I wanted to manage it. One night when you were gone, the road got drunk and broke all the dishes in my apartment. I went down to the seaside with my family, and the tide planted dead jellyfish in the sand like stones marking a path to the horizon. Do you know how I am in the water? The knots in my body ring loose. I am each one of the flashing organisms that galaxy around me, and the whole flash of them at once. I let the waves take turns pummeling me. When I returned to the sand, I gasp air and drink wine. The bookstores were different in New York before Lovers, Pennsylvania, and the strange nothing of Ohio. Still so cold in September, but with lightning bugs. When I finally made it back to Los Angeles, my brother was a lawyer. We had drinks and ate expensive sushi in Beverly Hills. I couldn't believe it. For 4 whole days, I quit smoking. I borrowed a bike and took it to the beach. I ate a real meat hamburger in a boardwalk burger joint. It felt like a relief to think about you again. It had been a long time since 5 in the morning, talking with you in the sunrise over the traffic sea. That whole week, I fell asleep with one hand on my brother's dog to keep her calm. When I saw you in Boston, I did and did not want to tell you about all the people I've been fucking. About all the people I had regrettably not been fucking. I didn't know what I wanted to tell you. I wanted my hand on your back and my fingers in the soft black of your curls in the tasteful living room of a drunk friend's place. I got my wish. You kissed me, but so did everyone else. I didn't care. I was beautiful and looking to get thrown. I'm still looking to get thrown. When I got back to Texas, my neighbors had gotten old. When I finally got to New York, I found myself on NYU campus and felt you there somewhere among the buildings, but I couldn't ask where.
All right, thank you. I like your, I don't want to put a finger on your style. I really like it. Like it's a confessionary kind of thing. Yeah. So, yeah. Keep coming back, dude. All right, coming up next we have Rachel. Everybody give it up for Rachel. Yay!
So these are really short, so I'm going to
All of them.
yeah. Okay. How much do you love yourself? At the end of the day, it's you who picks yourself up off the bathroom floor crying. It's you who, despite crying, takes a shower and gets dressed. When you have a fight with your loved one and things end badly, and you have to drive home, it's you who drives you home through the tears. It's you who gets yourself home safely. I feel like everyone is trying to find someone to love them. And when they finally do, they're terrified of losing them. Because who else could love them? Well, I have a fucking answer. Love yourself. Now, I'm not saying break up with your partner because you don't need anyone. You do. People need other people. But you have to remember at the end of the day that you have to take care of yourself first. No one knows you like you know yourself. No one has the ability to love you like you can. You need to take care of yourself first. You need to. The stars will shine, whether or not she compares him to the beauty in your eyes. You're made of star stuff, and you deserve so much more than a lukewarm love. Sometimes comets fly and crash into other planets, and someone new will eventually come along and see you for the beautiful celestial body that you are.
Right on. Hell yeah. All right, coming up next, we have Scott. Everybody give it up for Scott. Scott!
Just before I pull it, this is all the time where I forget everything I thought I was going to say. So that's why it takes so long, because it takes a while for me to figure this out. I think this is a crowd that knows nothing about physics.
Yeah, I can.
Me neither. I'm in that category. Leverage, all that stuff.
I know words.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I've never been here before. I have a fleeting memory, and I don't know about y'all, but I get haunted sometimes, and I think my greatest ghost is that I have the memory. I have the memory of wonderful times. I wake up in the morning and I think, man, it was just, what night is it? It was just Thursday, and I was having a blast. And I'll go through that moment where I say, well, how come you're not having fun now? You're having a coffee with a cigarette, man. You're watching the sunrise. And then it'll hit me and say, man, there was something else you wanted to do. There was something you wanted to say.
I want to say that I love everything. It's only when I do that I begin to realize that there's not anything that is me that's doing the loving in the first place. It's just leaves falling on a winter's day, going through a forest. Crows are cawing at the wind. I spent time alone with God before and it sucked. I'd rather be with people like Robert Morris and misbegotten souls that don't have any flipping clue what's going on. All just doing their best to figure out, make some sense, make some sound, and to try to keep them buzzing the strings. It's only when we forget that there was any part of us that was doing the loving, or if there was any vibe at all, that something really miraculous, like magic happens. And I experiment with my computer more than you would believe. I do all sorts of crazy stuff with it. I'm a Linux user, for God's sake. That one, they're nuts! So I'll sit up tomorrow morning and I'll say, well, what the hell did you do last night, man? What was it that was left out? I don't want to leave any of it out. I want to take every one of y'all home with me. And sit you on the couch so we can watch a good film like Girl and Maud or something. And then tomorrow morning when I'll wake up and we'll go out to that park next to my apartment that's got a labyrinth in it. And we'll sit and we'll stomp like little kids. And wonder why the sun doesn't come up like that every day. I used to work, for God's sake. I don't anymore, I just play. I used to have a job where I would walk through my day calling myself a somnambulist. It felt like being awake and dead. Now all I want to do is just get it out. Put this really weird blackness that's in my head and fill it with light and shine it out to anybody and everybody who would ever want to hear it. And the part about open mics that just blows me away. I mean, at the end of this night, I'm not going to have any flesh left. Because I saw y'all do what y'all love to do. Be yourself and sing a song and pray. It's like worship, for God's sake. It's like worship. Just say it. It's like worship, man. It's a form of worship. Letting your soul out and share it with anybody who will listen. And I hear so many other voices. I hear people channeling other people. I forgot what I was going to say, but that's the cool part. You're supposed to forget. You're supposed to forget everything. You just keep going anyway. So when when I walk by that bartender out there, I'll say, hey man, thanks for, I was going to say thanks for coming, but he was here before I was. But I'm not really here to begin with, for God's sake. I'm sitting on my patio tomorrow morning smoking a cigarette, wondering what the fuck I did last night. See what I mean? What's the point of having a memory unless it's a dangerous one? Unless it's one you want to flee from. Run away. I want to get to the future. I want to make something that's never happened before. I want to do something that's stupendous and wonderful. And the only thing I can think of that's better is letting somebody else play.
Huzzah! You know what? Today I learned that Scott is a Linux user. That says a lot, man.
I'm a heavy Linux user.
Yeah, that is a special breed, man. Yeah.
I'm a Linux shell script for me.
All right. Coming up next, we have Jack. Give it up for Jack, everybody!
I can't play a song. It's poetry.
You can play along.
I could play along, yeah. I'd have to tune it. I don't want to waste all people's time. Okay, so I've been inspired by Scott, and I'm going to improvise poetry for the first time. So I am going to waste no time. I don't make art. I just know people. Like this guy. This guy makes art. Every time he steps out the door, every time he goes to class, every time he makes a sandwich, every time he argues with Brannigan about feminism, and she's a feminist, but she doesn't think that she's a feminist, and that's crazy to me. And this one, man, she's cool. And this guy, no, just kidding. There's more about Madeleine. Madeleine is like my best friend, and I'm not drunk, but I'm gonna pretend I am. We have such little quantity. Like, we've known each other for a long time, but we never spent so much time together. But I love her like a sister, and as a friend, and as a mother, and that was weird. And Freud. Unless Freud is your mom.
No!
What's that?
I'm just referencing Oedipus.
Yeah, Oedipus, that's the story of my life. But I have so many people that I want to thank for every moment that I get to exist. And I don't know what words I would say except thank you. And there have been so many people that have told me they loved me. And I don't think I believed it once. Because I can't love myself. And that's my deal. I had to cancel my most recent therapy appointment, so you guys are just going to have to deal with it. But I love Wendy, and that's my ukulele's name. And her full name is Wendy Davis, because yeah. And I wake up in the morning and she's out of tune, and I'm like, I know, we haven't had your coffee yet, me neither. And I want to sing to her, and I want to sing through her, and I do every day. And people ask me why I play ukulele. And I feel like that's a stupid question. Because why wouldn't I play ukulele? Because it's so easy. And you can do it while walking, and it's not heavy. And I have 4 ukuleles, and they're all named. But Wendy's my favorite. And that's because I love her. Like a sister, like a friend, like a mother, like a lover. And I'm trying to improvise poetry, and it's hard. But I was at Tantra, which is another coffee shop, sacrilege to mention it here. But a friend of mine named Wayne said, let's go on stage, let's storm it. And we said, fuck yeah. And so we got up with a guitar and a ukulele and a ukulele and a guitar and a mandolin. And we just sat around. And someone asked us, hey, can we join? And we said, yeah, but there's some rules first. 1, you have to love art. 2, art is a lie. 3, get on the fucking stage. And they left. But we had so much fun with the girl who couldn't sing, but she sang so much. And we improvised lyrics to those 2 chords that, go like, you know the ones. And there's that girl that walks over and everyone knows she can freestyle. She's like a legend around these parts. And we say, hey, we're gonna drop a beat. Can you freestyle? And she says no, and she walks away too. But that's punk, We were so punk that we didn't even play songs. We left, and the only thing that remembers us being there is a Sharpie that said, I love love. Cheers.
Thank you, Jack. You should do that more.
All right, coming is Adam.
Adam left.
Yes, Adam did leave.
He did.
He done left. And Rupal
left too.
All these people are leaving me.
But
y'all haven't left me, and that's why y'all are awesome.
Hey,
And so coming up next, we have Ryan. Everybody, give it up for Ryan! Yay!
your mother and I are very proud of you.
Alright, so I was going to do a repeat of last month because I only wrote one thing today. But I was perusing through here and I found a very old one. So this one's called The Clan. Considering the genesis of the entirety of events that preceded, it's hard to initiate an effort to find the exact moment where things changed. It can be further contemplated that it was a slower domino effect that truly set things into motion.
One thing that is certain, however, was that the hate that boiled inside of each man, woman, and child considerably catalyzed the chaotic circumstances that shook reality by its steadfast foundations. The clan had found their foothold, one that afforded grand benefits for a twisted ideology fueled by fucked forbiddance. The power of speech. You can drown out thought, dissent, and opinion with a continuous, torrentious drone of words vomiting out of your mouth. It makes one feel important, lacking any substance other than the hot air escaping the mouths of the speaker. The sweet nectar of oration can sway crowds of people, coaxing and persuading the mind to lunacy and madness.
All right, thank you. All right, coming up with Nick. Thank you. All right, give it up for Nick. Yay!
We break our legs to play generic games just so we can please our father. But why bother? We're only going to get spit like everyday pretzels, kind of shitty like cancer and bread.
All right, thank you. And our final poet for the evening. Yes, give it up for Ian. Yay!
Hello. I didn't expect it to make it to me. I didn't prepare anything. But I've got this app where you can just press a button and it gives you a random poem. That's art. Yeah, right. Alright, and then this came up, and I was like, alright, this is appropriate. We're awake the dead here. How to Greet Death by Gabriel Gadfly.
How to what?
How to Greet Death. Yeah, right. Alright, bear with me. I haven't read it either. Greet death with hands in your pockets, slouched back, cool, collected, and confident. Wear a hint of a grin and a dash of cologne. Say, what took you so long? Say, you're behind the times, man. Say, dead is the new black. Coffin is the new condo. Power is the new tan. La vida muerta. Greet death with a fistful of black-eyed Susans, butterflies in your stomach, and 2 tickets to tomorrow's sunrise. Wear your father's cufflinks and your mother's wedding ring. Say, I brought these for you, babe. Say, kiss me, kiss me. Somebody's calling. Say, kiss me, kiss me. Say, but wait until the sun comes up. Just until daybreak. I want to show you something. Hasta la muerta, te amo. Greet death with a knife at your own neck, chin up, throat bared, cardiac in overdrive. Wear nothing. Wear nothing. Say, bring it on, motherfucker. Say, only on my terms. Say nothing and open your throat and bleed to completion. El final, el final, el final.
All right. Yes, and do not go gently. Okay, thank you so much, all of y'all. This has been a wonderful and amazing poetry night. Yeah, if you could stick around and help us put things back the way that they